Right, we've arrived at the Angkor Wat Temple. This is where we'll see sunrise.
I just hope it's a good sunrise.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people there's going to be. I've seen videos of Angkor Wat sunrise and people crowded everywhere, but I think they were before COVID, so what it's going to be like now.
Okay, sunrise is in 10 minutes. I'm excited.
That was pretty epic, to be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing. So busy, but
Yeah.
people were nice and quiet, and there was a space to see the sunrise at every spot. So yeah, so nice. It was amazing.
Before the sun came up, there was just a silhouette of the trees in Angkor Wat. And like you couldn't see it yet, but you knew it was there. It was kind of like a teaser. I like that bit.
Yeah, it's bigger than I thought it'd be as well. Okay, we're headed into the temple now. Just been learning a little bit more about the history and what Angkor Wat is all about.
It's 900 years old.
So there's 5 pillars, and each represent the 5 Hindu gods.
The tour guide's given us a lot of history, but it's not really giving us time to admire the temple itself. He just wants to tell us everything about the history of Cambodia.
This is just what comes with having a guide, but yeah, it's literally beautiful.
Yeah.
We've kind of just dropped away from the group now, haven't we? So we can just enjoy it.
Definitely
It's
good to come in
stunning.
the morning, because like the way the sun,
Hits it.
you know, the way the sun's hitting the temple, the rays are coming through it. Like
Yeah,
it
it's
is
so
amazing to see.
So we've just climbed up to one of the pillars on these really narrow steps, and I'm just blown away by how intricate everything is. It's just so beautiful, isn't it? He's been told he's getting food, so he's excited. Well, that was really good. We've been walking around the main temple for about an hour. What's interesting about this view is that you can actually see the 5 pillars that I was talking about earlier that represent the 5 Hindu gods. So, yeah.
What's quite surprising is how good of a condition it's in, considering it's like 900 odd years old. You can see that certain parts of it are deteriorated, but that's not just because of like wear and tear. In the 70s, the leader of the Khmer Rouge actively tried to destroy it because he didn't want any religion in the country. The gate as you kind of walk into the main temple, it had like rock in the shape of a snake, but the snake's head had been cut off. And apparently that was due to the damage that was caused in the 70s by the Khmer Rouge.
Oh, and speaking of snakes, we've been warned by our tour guide that these small green snakes do come out the forest sometimes, and they're very dangerous. So he was like, if you see it, report it to me. Just a little bit unnerving. We just walked into the second lot of temples, and these definitely seem a little bit more ancient looking. These have completely taken over by nature. They don't look like there's been any restoration efforts. It's nicer in a way. It makes it look like people really just up and left it like this. What do you think of that tree growing above?
Insane. It looks like alien-like it's grabbing the temple.
They say that birds have flown over the top of the temple and dropped fruit seeds, and then over time with rain the roots have grown and the tree's just taken over the whole temple area. Well under construction.
Dust just
Flying around the air. I think these are my favourite sets, like favourite area temples.
Yeah. And this one's officially called Ta Prohm Temple because it belonged to the people from the village of Ta Prohm, but it's known as Tomb Raider Temple because of the filming of Tomb Raider was done here.
Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's really cool.
I really want to climb on the rubble. I feel like you could climb up to the top.
You probably could, and then you get arrested by Cambodian police.
Be worth it though, for the Instagram likes. We're just heading back to the bus to get 10 minutes of respite from the sun.
It's so hot.
It's really hot. I think it's 31 or 32 degrees.
Feels hotter.
I think we've got another stop after this.
As you'll have seen, a lot of those temples are being worked on, reconstructed. Apparently it's part of a project that India are funding. I think because of the close ties with Hinduism, they're basically funding this project with Cambodia to help restore a lot of the temples that have been destroyed. Okay, so we're at Ta Temple. It's the third temple that we visited now. And this one dates back to the 10th century. Which is insane. This might be the oldest thing we've looked at.
Yeah, older than Angkor Wat.
Yeah.
That's triple digit years. Before the year 1000.
Yeah, it is crazy. It looks really grand from what we can see. It's huge. I think it's nicknamed the Mountain Temple, and it kind of resembles like a pyramid.
The guide was just telling us an interesting story about Ta Temple. In Angkor Wat there's loads of carvings in the temple and loads of statues around the temple, but there isn't at this one, and the reason for that is the temple wasn't actually finished. In the 11th century, lightning hit the temple and the big pillar in the centre, the top of it broke off, so the Cambodian people and the government decided they weren't going to build the temple anymore.
Yeah.
They thought it would be bad luck to continue building it, so they just left it.
Obviously, coming to temples, you have to cover your shoulders, your legs, and it just couldn't be worse weather for it.
Hannah's saying that we have to do this climbing. I really can't be bothered. It's too hot, and I've got pants on. to retreat into the tiniest bit of shade available at the temple.
If you come here, don't forget your sun cream, don't forget water. On to the next.
The Bayan Temple.
Yeah, I think we're pronouncing that right. The tour guy said this one's his favourite, so expecting big things.
Let's be honest, we've probably pronounced every single one of them wrong.
We're trying. Save the best for last, yeah. Do you
Do
think?
you reckon this is the best?
I think this might be my favourite.
It's impressive, like.
It's got a rugged feel.
So the central towers is bigger than other towers and higher than other towers.
Everywhere around this temple, there's just artwork on the stone, like these. I'm sure they tell stories of their own. This one was built in the 12th century as well, so it's the same as Angkor Wat. Again though, maybe it's just it hasn't been restored as well as Angkor Wat, or seems older. We're headed back to the bus now. That's all 4 temples, main temples done. So yeah, let's head back and get some rest. Headed back to the hotel now.
Just got back from the Angkor Wat tour and just wanted to give some summarising thoughts on the day. Do you think that was busy?
Extremely busy.
So interestingly, in 2019, the last year before the pandemic, Angkor Wat had 2.6 million visitors, and in 2022, I think it had about 300,000 visitors. So what we just experienced, I think, was a really quiet Angkor Wat. Because I've seen videos online of people like pushing and shoving to get the views and like being shoulder to shoulder with people. It wasn't like that. And after the sunrise bit, once we went to like the other temples, I thought it was really quiet.
Yeah, the other temples were super quiet.
So I think we're quite lucky. I think we probably had a much nicer sunrise experience than we would have had pre-pandemic. There's still like more tuk-tuks than people visiting, so even all the tuk-tuk drivers and guides don't have a job every day. So if you do go to Angkor Wat, get a guide, like you'll get to learn a lot more about the temples than you would if you didn't have a guide, and you're doing a favour to some of the local people who really struggled throughout the pandemic.
I think that's one of the best things we've done. The views. It's anything like that. They're so different, the Cambodian temples.
Yeah. It was a really, really interesting day and some incredible sights. We paid $37 US dollars for a 1-day ticket. The 2-day tickets are $62. So this is a really expensive excursion to do. Probably the most expensive tour we've done so far on this trip. And pre-pandemic, it was $20 for a one-day pass. So the price post-pandemic is almost double. The Cambodian locals aren't happy about that. They can't understand why the government's decided to almost double the price. But that's what they've decided to do. So it is really expensive, but I think if you're here in Siem Reap or in Cambodia, you just have to pay it and see it. Like, you've got to see it.
It's a must do.
I probably wouldn't be willing to shell out for the 2-day pass, but it would have been better to have a 2-day pass in the sense that we rushed around all the temples. We didn't have as much time as we would have liked to stop and take photos and stuff like that.
We were rushed around a little bit, but I know why. They've got to keep people moving just so that people aren't bundling up. But he was really nice, the guide anyway. He was taking pictures for us and he was really factual. There was a lot of like religious stories, tales and historical points that he was telling us about. It made the heightened experience, and we paid £15 on top of the ticket to have that guide. So it's not bad. Alright, sorry to cut that off, we just had some lunch, but we had some final thoughts and some tips to share. First of all, just make sure you bring plenty of water, something to cover up with properly, and sun cream. Second of all, I'd also say to take some food. I know it sounds a bit like a cheapskate tactic, but the restaurants around the Angkor Wat area, it's not just double, it's like triple the price that you'd find in a normal restaurant, like the local restaurants here.
Final tip I'd probably say is, if you just want to see the Angkor Wat temple, you can just go there, explore it. You'll need a taxi to Angkor Wat, but you won't need someone to take you around because it's just one temple. But if you want to see all of the different temples, you're going to need some transport to get around them because they're quite far away from each other. So your options are going to be a guided tour, someone who's going to take you around the temples, and that'll include your transport, and they're going to like tell you all about the history of the temples. Or the other option is just a tuk-tuk driver, but they might not have as good English. It'll just depend on the driver, and you can't really expect them to know all the history about the temples. So if you're really interested in the history, learning about Angkor Wat and Cambodia, say do the guided tour. If you're just interested in taking nice photos and just having a walk around and admiring it, I'd say do the tuk-tuk driver, because then you've got more freedom with your time in the temples.
Yeah. We were somewhere in the middle, weren't we? We appreciated standing and listening to everything, and like I said, it heightens the whole experience. But then, I keep saying this, but as soon as the guide stopped talking, it was like next, and everybody was kind of like pushing each other just to get that photo, or just to like, honestly, just to stand there and actually look with your eyes. It was kind of rushed, wasn't it, Sam?
Yeah. It works out about the same price for both options. You'd think a tuk-tuk would be cheaper, but because it's private, it works out around the same.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a good price, but I think which option you go for just depends on what type of person and like what type of traveller you are. But yeah.
So there's just some little tips. Honestly, we absolutely loved today. We wouldn't have really done anything differently. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But for now, we need to get some rest, so back to the hostel. I could join that band. Someone's left their trotters behind. Why?